Here are my top factors to look for when you're choosing a tow vehicle. Firstly, you want to really future-proof your tow vehicle purchase. Having an adequate tow rating is obviously really important when you're choosing a tow vehicle, but if you've got a fairly light trailer now, you may want to upgrade to something bigger and heavier later on. You'll save money and inconvenience if you buy a tow vehicle with as much tow capacity as you can afford now. Being able to tow up to the speed limit is really important. Even though you might not want to travel very fast when you're towing, you at least want the option of towing at the speed limit. Some vehicles, such as Subarus and some Holden Commodores, can only actually legally tow at up to 80 kilometers per hour. The solution is obviously to buy a tow vehicle that the manufacturer allows you to tow at the prevailing speed limit. Next, you've got to have enough payload for your needs. Some of us don't load up our tow vehicle to the limit, but there might be times when you have some of your extended family along, and with them and their gear in the tow vehicle, you might need all the payload the vehicle has to offer. So work out whether the vehicle you're keen on has enough payload capacity, not forgetting to include the tow ball download of your trailer. You want to have torque and lots of it at low RPM. Towing anything much heavier than an empty box trailer is going to make any vehicle work harder, so you want one that has plenty of engine torque. Compare a few towing vehicles in the category you're looking at to check that the one you plan to buy has a competitive torque figure and that the torque peak happens at fairly low revs, say at around 2000 RPM. Next up, you want to look at wheelbase. Towing safely involves a few different factors, but one thing for sure is that a vehicle with a nice long wheelbase will more likely be more stable than a short wheelbase vehicle. Manufacturers always include wheelbase measurement in their vehicle specs, so check it out to see it's as long or longer than other similar tow vehicles. Next up, you want the tow hitch as close to the rear axle line as possible. Just like a lanky wheelbase helps towing stability, so does a short as possible rear axle to tow ball length. The shorter this measurement, the less likely the rig is going to sway, which is one of the most common problems on the highway. Next up, you want good standard mirrors. Small curved side mirrors might help aerodynamics and look sexy, but they are not the best for towing. Look for a vehicle with big side mirrors, which might be big enough so that you don't even need towing mirrors to see behind your trailer. If you do need towing mirrors that attach to the vehicle's mirrors, a nicely squared off mirror will make them stay on a lot better. Next up, you obviously want a good touring range. You want to be able to travel a decent distance with a trailer behind, but any vehicle will suck down fuel at a quicker rate when towing. A diesel will chew less fuel than a petrol when towing, so diesel power might be the go. The solution is to choose an economical vehicle with a big fuel tank, at least 80 litres plus. Now, choosing between a two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. If you plan to stick to highways, a two-wheel drive vehicle seems like an easy choice because they use less fuel, they're cheaper to buy and maintain than most four-wheel drives. But even just pulling off the tarmac on some outback roads in the wet can lead to you getting bogged. If your funds will stretch to it, get a four-wheel drive. It'll reduce the risk of getting stuck in the middle of nowhere and opens up the opportunity to explore more areas than a two-wheel drive can go. And finally, make sure you buy a vehicle with a rear view camera. If you're running through the options list for your shiny new tow tug, this is one thing you'll want to tick. Being able to see exactly where the coupling is when hitching up will make life a lot easier, even when you've got a guide directing you in. Even though plenty of new vehicles come with a standard camera these days, just make sure that the camera has a wide enough angle to actually show the tow ball, because not all of them do. Even better is a bird's eye view camera that can show you all over the place, in front of the vehicle, on the side, as well as out the back.